Hello Nespians, and welcome back to the KonMari quest at TheNESpa. Thank you so much for joining me on this fine weekend for the most exciting, riveting, edge of your seat phase of them all, phase 3, the papers phase. Before I forget, if it's your first time here, hi! Thank you so much for being here. It's great to meet you. If you're wondering what the heck this KonMari quest thing we keep talking about is, I will leave a link on screen to the KonMari quest playlist, which details exactly what the heck we're doing here in this process from start to finish, starting with the introductory and overview video describing just what exactly this whole KonMari thing is all about. Okay, we'll start with the good news. Number 1. There is only one episode on the papers phase. It starts and ends here. Number 2, the papers phase is phase 3 out of 5 phases of the KonMari method. We are theoretically halfway through the process. Number 3, papers were done in just 1 day. That was awesome. Now for the bad news. I'm not trying to get too ahead of myself because, you know, the KonMari method is all about staying present and being mindful. However, the upcoming category is the komono category, the miscellaneous category, which is many subcategories. Although papers kind of sucked to go through overall because they were mostly so boring, I feel like I'm not quite ready for this nebulous komono category. But anyways, we will cross that bridge when we come to it. For now, the papers phase. Reviewing the papers category was a little bit more confusing than I wanted it to be. I will admit that even now, rereading those few pages where Marie outlines how we should organize our papers, I had to read it through a few times before I was able to make sense of what she was saying. The papers category is exactly what it sounds like. It's your tax documents, it's your receipts, it's the pile of papers that you leave at your front door, it's the unanswered mail, it's the newspapers that you've been saving, it's the Costco magazines that are piling up in the corner of your office because you love Costco and you tell yourself you are going to read those magazines and you never do. It's your warranties for your appliances. It's that tiny little instruction manual printed on a Post-it note sized piece of paper in bad English that you got with one of your Amazon doodads a few years ago. It's all the recipes that you've clipped out of magazines. It's all of your video game manuals. Not the manual. Right off the bat, Marie recommends that you discard everything that does not fall into one of these 3 broad categories. Currently in use, needed for a limited period of time, or must be kept indefinitely. Once you have decided which papers you're going to keep, Marie recommends further subdividing that category into papers that need to be dealt with and papers that need to be saved. So she recommends having one vertical file of papers that need to be dealt with, and she urges you to constantly go through that pile to make sure you're not leaving important things in your life undone. Of the papers that need to be saved, she further divides that category into infrequently used papers and more frequently used papers. Infrequently used papers would be things like insurance policies, things that you don't necessarily need to look at all that often, but you do still need to keep. Other things that might fall into this category are warranties on important items in your house. Items in the more frequently used papers category might be things like recipes if you bake. What this means for organization is then that we have 3 categories left of papers. Papers that need action, which we have in our vertical file folder, papers that need to be saved, which Marie recommends keeping in one clear file folder so that you're not looking in multiple places for things. If you need to go looking for something, it's all in one place. Every time you go into this clear plastic folder is an opportunity to discard the expired warranties and get rid of old manuals that you don't need. Marie suggests that one of the biggest mistakes we can make in this category is by subdividing and organizing our papers too meticulously. She basically suggests that at the end of this process, you should have culled your collection of papers so much that whatever little left over you have, it should be able to fit into a single clear file folder. Okay, last week I promised you exciting papers. Papers that spark joy somehow. This is not going to surprise you in the least bit. If you have spent any amount of time at TheNESpa on Twitch, you know I'm obsessed with video game manuals. Okay, So when I was going through my giant bag of manuals, I found all of my original Wii manuals and inserts. I found all of my original Nintendo DS manuals and inserts. I found my Casio My Magic Diary manual, and I found a couple of Super Nintendo manuals. I think the two that I found were All Stars and Paperboy 2 for SNES. Perfect. They're almost destroyed. They are in such bad condition, but the amount of joy it sparked when I found them. Okay, to be fair, I did at first look at them and recycle them. And then the further along in the discarding process I went, I started to have massive regrets. So I dug through the recycling bin and I pulled out my Wii manuals and my DS manuals that I had thrown out. And the look of joy on my face as I am digging through the recycling bag for these manuals, it's ridiculous. Compared to my normal sorting face, crazy. Thank you again so much for being here and for your continued support and encouragement and helping to keep me motivated through this process. I hope that maybe these videos have sparked a little bit of a fire in you to start maybe discarding some things in your own life that may be overburdening you or stopping you from living the clutter-free life that you want. Or maybe you've been inspired to read The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up Yourself and to start your own KonMari process. I hope that you found some utility in this videos, if only to hang out and to have a few laughs here and there, because that's important too. See you next time for the komono or miscellaneous category. I'm not nervous, you are. Have an awesome rest of your weekend, everybody. So good to see you as always. Bye.